Hello, and welcome back to just this last part of our tutorial to kind of review our render. So this is, I go back into Blender here, so we have made our render here. Excuse me. I've made one or two tiny changes while it was rendering. I took the image and I brought it into I don't have Photoshop here. I brought it into GIMP and I made it just a tiny bit. I just used a brightness slider. I'll show you how to do that in class to make the image slightly brighter. Just it was too dark compared to the very light color of these two objects. And then the very last frame of this is not great. If I bring this down here and turn it into a timeline, so you can see here that our plate starts to overlap the bottle, which is obviously not what would happen in the real world. It would go behind, and I said we can put in a mask, but we'll do that another day. So the very last frame or two are a bit out, but this is the result. So it's quite convincing. It's not perfect, and we could spend more time with texturing. You can see there's a fizz here. There's noise in this piece of video that isn't in this, but we can actually, we can play with that. We can export this as a separate piece of video, and then overlay it on top, and then add noise to it. Or we can do it internally in Blender. We can add noise to this end of the render in the compositor. But it's not a bad result. In terms of it's fairly well stuck to the table, and moves so it tracks the camera very well, and is moderately convincing. So yeah, so that's our kind of part 3, just to see the results, which actually took quite a while. It took about what time is it now? 10:40. It took about 35 minutes actually to render that out. I think my original render actually hadn't properly turned on GPU rendering. You have to go into user preferences system and turn on CUDA, which I don't think I'd done. So I think it was miserably slow the first time I did it. But yeah, it took about 35 minutes I think to render 100 frames. So just be aware of that when you're planning for your own projects. Okay, so we'll leave it at that, and so at least we've got to see the results, and like I said, we'll explore all of these in class.